Let's take a look at this tweet from Jack Duffin, Orange and Brown Report. Realistic free agents at every position for the Browns to look at. So, quarterback, you got Joshua Dobbs, Madison, running back, Scherfeld, wide receiver, tight ends, Atkins, tackle Fleming, guard Froholt, Levin at center, Okonkwo at edge, Reed, defensive tackle, Walker, linebacker, cornerback Oliver, and McLeod as a safety. Let's welcome in Jack Duffin from the Orange and Brown Report. Does a great job with salary cap, free agency, and the like. We'll be prepping for the draft after the combine. But, Jack, you look at this. Who are some of the targets in that list that you think make a whole lot of sense for the Browns?
Yeah, so a couple of guys I think make loads of sense. And you'll see from the initial list, they're not the big sexy names. We're not talking about Jerome Payne. We're not talking about lots of money. And I think if Browns fans are expecting to be really active on the first 2 days of free agency, they're probably going to end up disappointed. It's more going to be you're filling out the middle of the roster. Let's get loads of guys in on that 3 to 6 million range who can really transform the team and take your pass rush from 1-2 stars to having 5-6 guys that constantly getting at the quarterback. So Okonkwo is one I'm really interested to see. Wanted him last year. He went into did a 1-year deal with the Texans. And now I think if you can get him timed down at like $5.5 million a year, you're going to get a solid option opposite Myles Garrett.
Yeah, and I think you make a really valid point because it's not the top end of this roster that needs help. When you look at the roster, they have the star power. You've got Ward, you've got Garrett. To a certain extent, you have Emerson. It's the middle of the roster that kind of let you down last year, I think.
Yeah, the majority of free agents that are signed for like 10 million plus are generally cut after 2 years. And that's just because if a guy's a free agent, well, one team's obviously decided they don't want to keep him. Then there's a bidding war, so the price goes up higher than it should be. And then teams are regretting getting that player. And it's not saying they're bad, but they're not worth what they're paid. And then the first question becomes, well, how do you get out of this deal? So it's a free agency, and the teams that use free agency the best, it's that middle of the roster guys, bringing in your second tier and then padding that out for where draft picks hadn't hit. How do you sort of build the room so you fill your needs in free agency of guys that it's not big splashes, but it's that consistent quality. And then you draft guys that will hopefully be the franchise cornerstones. That's where you get your quarterbacks, your left tackles, your wide receivers, your edge defenders, and your corners. So focus on the draft for your stars, and you build that for the future, but fill those needs in free agency. Nothing too splashy, but you get to the end of the year and you're like, wow, that guy made a real difference, and he cost like $4 million.